Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
How old is too old for kids to be trick-or-treating? You know, every single time. My quick answer, I don't know, who cares? Let them walk around and get some candy. If they're being sullen and rude at the front door, you don't have to give them the candy. You might get some eggs in return. I don't know. Does that even happen anymore? The egging, the toilet papering, that was a thing when I was younger. I don't really see evidence of it all that often. I digress. How old is too old to trick-or-treat? Well, Today.com did a poll that has gotten a ton of votes, thousands, over 14,000 in fact, of exactly how old is too old to trick-or-treat. And while the majority, just about half of people saying never, there is a big chunk of people, about one-fifth, saying about 17 to 18. All right, I can find that understandable. However, there are some percentages listed for 11 to 12 and 13 to 14. Who hurt you? Let them get their candy. There are some places that put it down into law, which I find bizarre. But, you know, maybe there was a trend, a big rash of pranks being played, maybe. Eggs hitting doors and windows. I don't know really what the story is behind why these are in place, but I can tell you that some places have it pretty strict. Some places like Bathurst, New Brunswick, limit kids over 16 from trick-or-treating. At last I heard, last I've read. But maybe that's changed. Likewise, in Charleston, South Carolina, apparently 16 is the age. Then Chesapeake, Virginia is one of the ones with the strictest rules that can be found. They have their trick-or-treating age cutoff set at 12. Since, 1970, I guess, is when that went into place, when all of the costumes were homemade and somehow extra scary because of it. But they do say that while it has been in effect for decades, the city of Chesapeake has never detained nor charged any person under the ordinance. It's just there so that police officers have a method to detain individuals if they do create a disturbance or similar actions. You know, unlike all of the other ways that the police could do that.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
Well, the biopic all about Springsteen and the creation of his 1982 album Nebraska is a ways off. It's going to be releasing in 2025. Star Jeremy Allen White is the subject of a brand new photo that's been released that's, designed to generate some interest in the project, where he is in the full Bruce Springsteen look. The hair, the clothes, the everything, actually kind of looking pretty close to how Springsteen looked on the cover of Darkness on the Edge of Town, as opposed to Nebraska, which was a landscape. Still looking pretty cool. Gonna have to wait a while. Blondie, also gonna have to wait until 2025 before you hear music from that crew. Debbie White and the fellows are going to be putting out something brand new. No word on a title, actual release date, or anything. The only thing we know is that Chris Stein, guitarist and co-founder for Blondie, jumped on Instagram to say, hey, we're in the studio. New stuff is coming. And Grateful Dead, there's some sad news in the roster, in the lineup. Phil Lesh, co-founder, bassist for the band, he has died at the age of 84. It was confirmed on social media, surrounded by family and full of love. No cause of death was released at this time.
Tuesday.
It was on this day, 30 years ago, that All I Want for Christmas was released. I have to imagine there was some snowfall that evening as well. And it has not released us from its yearly Yuletide grasp for a single year since then. No joke. It holds the record for longest span between first time and most recent time reaching the number one spot on the Billboard Hot AC chart. And so, as those snowflakes lightly fall outside on October 29th, what choice do we have but to get into it? Yeah, you know what? I can't. We're not doing that. It's too soon. I'm sorry, Mariah. Halloween first. The Who are getting back together again. Who? Yeah, the band, The Who. They're definitely returning in 2025 in some capacity. What does that mean? Well, we don't know yet. Pete Townsend was talking to The Standard, and he did reveal that The Who will do, I quote, something next year. No plans exactly, but Possibly. They could be doing some touring, doing some live performances, could be putting out an album. We'll see. They also managed to talk about Oasis, because that is another huge British band that is reuniting. And Pete Townsend of The Who said he's disappointed to see the brothers back together. He was asked if that was maybe because he had not been able to get himself a ticket. They're hard to come by. He said no, because I really like their solo albums. Meanwhile, Oasis are preparing to turf more than 50,000 tickets for their upcoming Live in 25 tour. The secondary ticket site sold tickets in particular are in the crosshairs. So, anybody who bought from scalpers might be out of luck. Bruce Springsteen sharing his thoughts on the reveal of actor Jeremy Allen White as the boss in the upcoming biopic Deliver Me From Nowhere. It was an official look shared yesterday by Jeremy Allen White. A big promotion to let people know this biopic is even happening, and Bruce Springsteen says that he always knew that Jeremy Allen White was the right guy. Well, we'll see if the acting chops match, but anybody who's seen The Bears probably well aware he can do the thing.
Wednesday.
Like the Joey Chestnut of Halloween candies, maybe not. Foods to help fight off that candy binge tummy ache, though. Apparently, there are some specific ones you might want to reach for. A new article from The Conversation suggests foods that fit the 4 Fs to restore your gut biome after, well, simply too much candy. Those 4 Fs being fiber, phytochemicals, starts with a pH, doesn't really count, but those are just basically stuff from plants. Fats that are unsaturated is the 3rd F, and then fermented foods. In fact, the top suggested item, the food that's going to help make your tummy not so sore after you eat too much candy, is sauerkraut? Just what every kid wants after Halloween. Yum, yum. There are other suggested foods, too, of course. Other fermented foods that might do. But, of course, moderation is the best method. Keep track of the candy wrappers and then, saying things to yourself like, well, Steve, surely 15 fun-sized candies was too many for the duration of an episode of Modern Family, or, whatever's specific to your life. For some music news, we got a few stories, starting off with Brian May of Queen and answering why, on the reissue of their debut album, Queens that is, why the guitar parts were, ramped up just a little bit. They had a little special TLC put on them. The reason why, Brian May explains, is because of his dad's voice. He says he remembers his dad saying, "There's no ambience, Brian. There's no ambience." He also says that their second record deserves the very same treatment as well. Who knows if that reissue is forthcoming. Pet Shop Boys have announced a special edition release for their 40th anniversary of just being around. Big milestone. They are putting out the Pet Shop Boys since 1984 range of products, including a whole set of fine china ceramics, teapot, cups, saucers, milk jug, and sugar bowl. Very British. And Bush, speaking of, Britain is going to be in Manchester. They're going to be doing a once-in-a-lifetime performance on the MTV World Stage just before the EMAs. The tickets for that are limited. 1,000 people will be allowed in. It's happening on November 9th, and they're on sale as of October 30th. Of course, that is for anybody who's, in the neighborhood across the pond.
Hey Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Ryan Reynolds, as well as his partner Rob McElhaney, they are the new proud partner owners of Wrexham. Now, this isn't a repeat headline from when they bought the team Wrexham AFC. Of course, that is the subject of the documentary series Welcome to Wrexham that you can see on Disney+. It's really good. It's really good. So fun to watch. But no, this is actually a new acquisition. Wrexham Lager Beer Company, I guess, is the new... they're just keeping it really on brand with the name. Absolutely. They sell a few different award-winning lagers, including Wrexham Lager Export, and Pilsener. And they use the original recipe from 140 years ago, once served on the Titanic and everything, one of the oldest breweries in Great Britain, and in Wales, 1882, I guess it was formed. It's kind of a big deal. A lot of history. But all I know for sure is that if Ryan Reynolds has bought yet another company and has yet another way to make money, we're definitely due for a goofy yet hilarious video promoting it before too long.
Thursday.
Songs that fill out a Halloween playlist.
You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch. But you don't want to blow your wad, so then you got to cool it off a notch. There are a lot of rules.
There are a lot of rules. Now, there are obviously the only at Halloween songs. Monster Mash, for instance. Not very common to hear that outside of October. And then there are the songs that are associated with Halloween, but with a bit of spillover. Think Thriller. The third category are songs with big Halloween and monster connection, but that somehow, became common to hear year-round. Like Werewolves of London, we played Feed My Frankenstein earlier this morning, and the last kind of song you find on a Halloween playlist is one that has a vaguely spooky sound or something in the lyrics or title that loosely fits the bill. Witchy Woman or Don't Fear the Reaper, Running with the Devil, perfect example. Those are the songs that just happy to be invited to the party. There's been a car crash at a tea shop owned by Billy Corgan, and unfortunately there were minor, thankfully, injuries to his mother-in-law. As well, his son Augustus was there and narrowly avoided any harm. Of course, it's enough to make anyone hot-headed, but they're being very understanding of the situation and being thankful that there weren't worse injuries. Prince, it turns out, agreed to that cameo on the show New Girl because of one of the stars of New Girl. Apparently he had a crush on Hannah Simone, the actor who plays Cece, and requested a chance to at least have some time to play ping pong with her in sort of exchange for his appearance. He was hopeful. He was shooting his shot. And a brand new musical streaming service has arrived featuring exclusively Nintendo music. For anybody with the online subscription to their services, you can access their new Nintendo Music service for free that features a ton of music from, first-party Nintendo games. Zelda, Super Mario, etc. It's all there for you, but not a whole lot else, of course.
Thanks for listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
Got to talk about a new Florida man story. This one, not because of any real weird and wild stupidity going on, which is often the case. And the reason we hear about Florida so often is simply just because their laws are just different there in that state, and everything that goes on as far as legal proceedings and criminal charges, it's just public knowledge. So that's why we get to hear more about them. This wasn't so much a criminal charge. It was an incident at a beach, a run-in with a shark. A man in Florida bitten by a shark on the same beach that he was attacked by a shark 11 years earlier. It wasn't to the day or anything like that, but that would be creepy, wouldn't it? Apparently, he was surfing with friends, bitten on the feet by a tiger or a bull shark 11 years prior. Another shark had bitten him on the arm, though this most recent attack was a little bit worse. Unfortunately, he did require 93 stitches and is going to have to pay some money out for that medical care, which is a scary thing down in America, especially. So hoping him well, wishing him well, but that is a wild occurrence. 11 years separate and another shark attack. Usually most people never encounter something like that. For one person to have it twice in one lifetime, I just feel like maybe the sharks have something against him. It seems like there's a vendetta, a finned vendetta out there in the ocean. Stay safe, Florida man.
Friday.
The airplane, I don't really mind if the feet come, or the shoes come off the feet. I mind if the feet then come onto my armrest from behind. That's the thing that's not cool. But I digress. In an Australian Reddit thread, Australia focused, it has been reawakening the question of whether it's cool to kick off your feet and let your sock or even bare feet breathe at work, specifically at the office. I don't really think it's going to work on the job site. Get your steel toes on. But is it chill? Or will people just end up breathing in your foot stank? They do live a far more barefoot lifestyle in general down there, but not so much around the office. Reasonable reactions to the question include things like making exceptions for medical reasons, like pregnant staff, or limiting the shoes off time to when just sitting at your own desk, as long as there's no stank. Some people are claiming that it's nothing more than a ploy to just start advertising people's OnlyFans accounts. Your first foot fix is free, the rest are going to cost you. First of all, dodging all of the different headlines about which musician or group are endorsing which potential candidate in the United States election, as well as all the Halloween costumes, we do have a couple of stories to get to, and unfortunately, one is sad. Mike Portnoy, of Dream Theater, just recently performed an entire show just a half an hour after learning that his sister had died. Of course, the band did take moments to have a silence, a moment of respect, and also to pay tribute. And the drummer has said of the performance, it's one of the hardest shows that I've ever had to play. I can't even imagine. Meanwhile, Ticketmaster and the members of Oasis find themselves the subjects of a burnt effigy in the UK, in Edinburgh, after the dynamic ticket pricing controversy has swept over the UK. Of course, a lot of big dollar signs for people who are trying to get tickets to those. The band has said they are not going to be employing that dynamic-based pricing when tickets are on sale for any shows in North America, and that South American dates are even on the way. But the people who are behind the effigy say, although it includes Liam and Noel Gallagher, they're not our target. It's the corporate giant of Ticketmaster that we have gone after this year. But then it looks like Liam and Noel, so I don't know. Maybe there's a better way of communicating. Yesterday we were doing some trick or eating during the early trick-or-treating time of day, and we specifically were in Dickensfield, as well as a team in the Wood Buffalo neighborhoods to raise foods and funds for the Wood Buffalo Food Bank Association. We've been doing this for a few years now, and I think it's starting to catch on because I think we're getting a little bit more attention each time we go through. I've got Michelle from the Wood Buffalo Food Bank Association on the line. I believe you've got some totals of what was raised last night for us.
I do have totals for you yet. 1,472 pounds.
Oh, well, that's huge.
It is. And then that equates to $5,240.
Not bad at all. And I think that's more than double what we did last year for Trick or Eat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. People were so generous this year.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for letting us know the good news. Maybe it wasn't quite double, but certainly an increase over last year's haul, last year's take for a great cause to help fill those shelves at the Wood Buffalo Food Bank ahead of the colder months. Thank you again to everybody who participated. And of course, if we missed your house, or if you are feeling like, oh, we couldn't donate enough, or we didn't get to donate, but we want to, good news is you can year-round, and one of the easiest, most convenient ways to do it is at the grocery stores around town. There are the drop-off donation bins. Just put your donations in there.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.